Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. I'm glad to be here offering this talk to you today. Um, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a famous Chinese teaching story from the Zen tradition, a koan. The koan we're talking about today is number three in the Blue Cliff koan record, for those of you who are familiar with the Blue Cliff record. Um, it's called Sun-Faced Buddha, Moon-Faced Buddha, and I will read it for you. Great Master Ma was unwell. The temple superintendent asked him, Teacher, how has your venerable health been in recent days? The great master said, Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. I'll read it one more time. Great Master Ma was unwell. The temple superintendent asked him, Teacher, how has your venerable health been in recent days? The great master said, Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. So that's our koan. That's our case. A lot has been written about this interchange. A lot has been said about this interchange. And as is always the case, when we're talking about a koan, um, I encourage people to spend time with the story, spend time with the koan and the words of the koan themselves, just to roll it around in your mind, and more importantly, to let it roll around in your body, in your heart, to see what it shows you. Koans are a transmission to you, and so um, all I can really offer you is what the rolling around has felt like for me, and the sense that my mind has made of it. But no one's words about a koan are final, certainly, or ultimately authoritative, because this is the Zen tradition, and the transmission is yours. The practice is yours. The body that gets activated, the heart that gets moved, the mind that responds is yours, right? It's direct in that sense, right? Just like your own feeling of heat and your own feeling of cold is yours, and no one can be the intermediary for you of those experiences. Koans are much the same, right? There's there's a lot we say about them. They're wonderful to work with. They're fun, kind of to wrestle with. There's beautiful teachings and very sophisticated ideas about consciousness and insights into suffering and into the human experience that are communicated to us through these old stories. So I don't wish to negate the power of uh, any of that tradition. That said, that said, ultimately, koans are more like poems than they are like prose, and so, like all art, right? They are references to the absolute. They are the garments that truth wears, and so how we experience them is what we're relating to and what we're responding to. So spend time with it on your own if you wish. If my words help you get a little closer, a little deeper, or help you roll something around that you haven't rolled around before, wonderful. That's what the talk is offered for. But it's only an interpretation. It's only one person's words. So I bought myself enough insurance probably. Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. Um, this koan seems to me to be about our temporal nature, our moon-faced nature, and about our eternal nature, our sun-faced nature. This koan seems to be about our karmic human experience. as well as our transcendent Buddha experience, right? And Master Ma is letting his superintendent, and he's letting all of us know that we are both at once. Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. And I know these days, regardless of when you're watching this or regardless of when you're listening to the recording of this, I know that you are like Master Ma in that you are unwell. I know that because the first noble truth of Buddhism reminds me that all of us have the experience of suffering, right? There is, to some degree, part of us that is always unwell, resistant, constricted, struggling, right? And these days, the time in the world that I'm giving this talk, the time in the country that I'm giving this talk, um, in April of the year 2025 in America, I can assure you that you are unwell, as we are a nation that is unwell in a world that is unwell. Are you not? And so I can ask you the way the temple superintendent asked after his teacher, how has your venerable health been in recent days? We have had a lot of chaos in recent days and a lot of pain. So perhaps my question could be refined further uh, to ask you what you notice in yourself rising to meet those painful events when you look at your news feed, when you hear about the affairs of the world, what inside you moves in reaction to those events, what moves in response to those events. What do you notice? What thoughts do you notice? What feelings do you notice? What energies show up in your body? What constricts in you? What expands in you? What impulses do you notice? What pain are you allowing yourself to hold? What pain are you allowing yourself to feel? What pain do you notice that perhaps you hold at arm's length? In Buddhist practice and meditation practice, uh, this is mindfulness of body. This is mindfulness of emotion. This is mindfulness of impulse. This is mindfulness of thought consciousness. That's all I described. We just notice what arises, and we are the noticer. And so there's a relationship implied between those two things, the noticer and what is noticed. Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. Anyone who has sat with body awareness as their focus for 10 minutes has figured out that the sensations of the body are changing all the time. Moon-faced Buddha. Anyone who has sat for 10 minutes with mindfulness of emotion knows that the landscape of emotion is changing all of the time. Moon-faced Buddha. Certainly anyone who has sat for 10 minutes with mindfulness of thinking, mindfulness of thought consciousness, as their practice has noticed its constant change. The thoughts, the pauses between the thoughts, the spaces between the words, the constant flow. Moon-faced Buddha. There's a great Hindu poet and brilliant mystic, Kabir, Kabir. If you don't know of Kabir, search him up. He's worth looking into. He expresses this koan's insight in a very similar way. He has one line that just says, "The sun is within me, and so is the moon." Sun face Buddha, moon face Buddha, almost word for word. The Buddha is actually extra, right? And Rumi, all of our favorites, all of our favorite Sufi poet expresses the insight in a very similar way. A verse I'm very fond of reciting. I've given lots of talks about this verse. We are the mirror as well as the face in it. We are tasting the taste this minute of eternity. We are both pain and what cures pain. We are the sweet cold water, and we are the jar that pours. I hope you can hear in all these things the juxtaposition between the changing human experience, suffering, constriction, expansion, moving up, moving down, moving left, moving right, changing. The moon casts off her shadow and grabs it back again, casts off the light, grabs it back again, right? The cyclical nature of the forms of time and space, the human experience, right? Being contrasted with the nature of the sun. The sun has no shadow. It never doesn't shine. It is outside of time and space. It is eternal, right? The field of consciousness upon which the movie of our lives is shown, the part of us that watches the movement of the thinking, the movement of the emotions, the rise and fall of the sensations of the body, our sun-faced Buddha nature. In Soto, Zen, our great teacher Dogen Zenji says in his seminal work, Genjo Koan, as all things are Buddha Dharma, there is delusion and realization, practice and birth and death. There are Buddhas and sentient beings. As the myriad things are without an abiding self, there is no delusion, no realization, no Buddha, no sentient beings, no birth, no death. The Buddha way is, in essence, leaping clear of the many and the one. Thus, there are birth and death, delusion and realization, sentient beings, and Buddhas. The affirmation of the sun and the moon as being separate, the taking back of that separateness and realizing the moon's light is also the sun's light and is reflected. The light in your eyes is the light of eternity. It's the same light that's in my eyes. The same eternity, the same life, the same shine, the same fire that animates the trees that grow and the cats that stalk, the birds that fly. And because of the reality of our experience in this moment, the awareness of those being not separate doesn't preclude us from seeing them as usefully separate. All right, to bring back in the fact that the moon is the moon and the sun is the sun. Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. Two things and not two things, but two things. Right? The separation being, as my teacher says, a useful fiction. So, how does this apply to our relationship with suffering? Because that's what Buddhism is about. All of Buddhism will come back to something, and that something is always a relationship with suffering. And so Suzuki Roshi, my teacher's teacher, Shunryu Suzuki, says it this way. If you understand suffering through and through, that is Buddha. There is no other Buddha. It's a very interesting definition. Very interesting definition of what this thing is that's on our altar. What this thing is, this tradition is named after, this thing called Buddha, this thing that exists in the field of time and has a historical manifestation in the year 500 BC and who walked the earth and wore sandals and had a mom and dad and also represents the eternal principle, Buddha consciousness, Buddha nature, that light in your eyes and that light in mine, right? What an interesting definition. What an interesting way of defining what that statue on your altar represents. I'll say it again. If you understand suffering through and through, that's Buddha. There is no other Buddha. Oof. That's a brilliant description from Suzuki and a very high bar. Can you feel the separation and the non-separation? I am the one who understands, and I am the one who suffers. And that is Buddha. Those two things, connected, touching, not separate. That's Buddha. Wow. Sun face Buddha, moon face Buddha. There's a great Chinese poet, Li Po. His name is translated a few different ways, and I'm afraid I don't know Chinese. I only know him. I only know it. His name translated as Li Po, L-I, separate word P-O. But I know it's been translated other ways too, and I'm afraid I'm too ignorant to understand why and how. But he has a very famous verse, many of you have heard, that goes, "The birds have all vanished from the sky, and now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountain and me, until only the mountain remains." Those four simple lines. It's actually beautiful to see on the page, because even though I don't know the characters, there's something very symmetrical, right? There's something so organized and so dignified about the way all the characters line up exactly in the four lines, when you see it on the page. So I'll read it again to you from Li Po. "The birds have all vanished from the sky, and now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountain and me, until only the mountain remains." I hope you can see the temporal and the eternal principle. Perhaps as you're listening to this talk, perhaps as you're watching this video, you are aware that you're breathing. Perhaps you're aware of your feet on the ground, you know, or your body in your seat. Perhaps you're aware of the position of your arms and your fingers. The word nirvana is sometimes translated as to cool with air by blowing. To cool by blowing, or even to extinguish by blowing, because sometimes the metaphor for suffering is fire. If we blow quickly, we can extinguish a candle, right? If we blow lightly, we can ease the experience of something that feels uncomfortably hot from suffering. To cool by blowing, nirvana. That's an experience you've had. It isn't something strange or foreign to you. It doesn't have to be something lofty or superhuman. In fact, it can only happen here in a body with flesh that experiences heat, sun, and cool moon. To cool by blowing is nirvana. Inspiration, expiration. That's what's happening in your body right now. Cool on the way in and warmer on the way out because it's been with your fire. This is the spirit moving over the water. Breath sweeps mind, we sometimes say. In the Zen tradition, we notice when our thoughts are hurried, frantic, when our thoughts are connected to a heart that is churning, when our thoughts are expressing anxiety or fear or the fire of anger, the twisting of confusion, we say, oh, breath sweeps mind. And we remember we're breathing. And simply to call into our recollection, to bring into our conscious awareness, oh, breathing is happening. Spirit is happening. Inspiration, expiration is happening. To cool by blowing, to cool by being in contact with that which is moving, the air. Oh, it's happening all the time, isn't it? And so we breathe down into our chest, we breathe down into our guts. Our belly expands, and we let nirvana caress our pain. We let our confused thoughts, we let our churning heart, maybe the fire that we're feeling in our guts, be touched by nirvana. Just the act of breathing, right? We move our eternal nature down into our karmic nature, our human nature, and we let it be eased with that touch. It's very visceral enlightenment, isn't it? Nirvana. It's very, very visceral. It's not later, it's not abstract. It doesn't have to have a giant emotional component to it. It's certainly not mental. Enlightenment? It's not an idea. Right. There's a human experience happening here. There we go. I've just reminded myself of my eternal nature as the witness, the one who watches outside of time. Buddha, sun-faced Buddha, reflecting off of my karmic nature into this body, constriction, expansion, light, dark, moon-faced Buddha. So when we embrace our natures, when we merge our natures with the touching, right? Form and emptiness, human and Buddha, the not separateness of those, when we embrace those, when we merge those, right? We leap clear of both of them, just as Dogen says. We're not stuck. We leap clear of both, as Dogen says, right? Our sentient being, our Buddha. We're unencumbered. We've leapt clear. We're free, right? We're unencumbered because we're not stuck with the self-perception, the self-definition, and we're also not stuck being separate with just Buddha. Right? Buddha's only complete in a body. So we release this death grip on some limited version of what we are. Right? We release our death grip essentially on what we are not. And when we leap clear, we're not fearing the dark any longer. We're not straining toward the light. That stops making sense. We're not needing to disavow either of our natures. Right? That just means we're not judging, resisting, constricting, grasping, holding onto some limited or one-sided view of the size of our inheritance. We're always both, and so we're always neither. And so we're always in all places, and we're always between. That's what that means. One last short poem, another one of my favorites. I've talked about it a lot over the years. Luku, Luku. The nation is destroyed. Mountains and rivers remain. Fluttering from place to place, I'm like a gull between heaven and earth. See the four lines there again? The nation is destroyed. Mountains and rivers remain. Fluttering from place to place, I'm like a gull between heaven and earth. Eternal nature, earthly nature. The nation is destroyed. The mountains and rivers remain. All of you who have watched your thoughts know it creates a nation in 5 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and then whoosh, they come and go, just like everything we see outside. The nation is destroyed. They come up, they go back. They come up, they go back, like waves on the ocean. The temporal experiences of moon phase Buddha. So you're listening to a Dharma talk. I'm giving a Dharma talk. This is now. This is an eternal moment. No past, no future. It's sun face Buddha. It's sun face Buddha, the now, the eternal now. Sun face Buddha. And it's also moon faced Buddha, experienced as one specific and small moment among many, arising, changing, and passing. The specificity of this specific moment, the changing of the hot and cold of your breath, is just infinity referenced and reflected in the forms of time, in the experience of a limited and finite body, right? Both at once, not separate, both at once. Master Ma is sun faced Buddha and moon faced Buddha. He's unwell, and he's beyond well and unwell. Just like you, sun faced Buddha, moon faced Buddha, and you are unwell, as am I. And also, beyond such discriminations, beyond well and unwell. So this is the first time you have ever done this. And so this is the last time you will ever do this. And this is the first time I have ever done this. And so this is the last time I will ever do this. The world keeps ending. And the world goes on. Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. Finally, there's nothing to say. Thank you very much.